Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Hello Again. I'm absolutely thrilled today because I'm joined by the author of one of my favourite books of the year, The Windsor Knot, Sophia Bennet, aka SJ Bennett. Hello and welcome to my little world here. How are you?
I'm fine and I'm thrilled to be here, so thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's really lovely.
Oh, I know, I'm so excited. For those who don't know who are watching, can you tell us a little bit about you and about The Windsor Knot?
Well, I was one of those people who took a long time to get published. So I was 42 when I first got published. I mean, having wanted to do it since I was 8, basically, but yeah, things happened. And basically I was just too scared. And then it took 10 years. And then I published lots of young adult books, and I have a little pile here to show you. So I started off with Threads, which I published with Chicken House, because I was very lucky. I won the Times Chicken House fiction competition, and if anyone is writing children's books and they want to get published, totally recommend entering that, because they read every entry, and even if you don't win, they might still love your book and publish it later. So that was Threads, and that became a series.
Wow.
And then I wrote some more, and one of those was called Love Song, and that's probably one of my favorite ones to do, which was inspired by Harry Styles. Got to be done.
Love the cover.
And then the last one I did before the latest one we're going to talk about was this one, which I am super proud of, which I did with Tate Publishing, called The Bigger Picture. And it was like doing a mini degree in 3 months, and I wrote it in the summer of 2018, I think. And it's all about women artists, mostly who are in the Tate's collection, kind of most of them, because they don't have that many, but they're trying to build up their collection. And I loved doing it, and it's lovely to have an illustrated book for teenagers as well, because there's not that many about. So yeah, that was a real joy to do, but it was also very scary because every artist, or if they were dead, their estate got to approve the copy. So like if I was writing about Tracy Emin, which I was, Tracy Emin was going to get to read it, or her assistant was, and say, yeah, that's okay, or no, that's not okay. So yeah, I was quite a lot of pressure on. I love that one.
And quite a thing to sort of juggle as well, all the toing and froing and keeping track of who said what and changes on this. And
well, I didn't have to do that because my fantastic editor, Holly Tonks, who now teaches at Bath Spa University, was on top of that. And it was insane what she had to do. So there was me, there was the illustrator, there was the production manager, there were all of the artists. And, you know, one of the things I adore about women artists is they're not easy. You know, they are the definition of difficult women. They know what they want. They really stand up for it. I admire it without hesitation, but you know, dealing with them is quite stressful. So yeah, Holly was absolutely brilliant. So yeah, she's a big star.
Amazing. It sounds like you've got a good grounding then for the Windsor Knot.
Well, yeah, I mean, so I'd written, that was the 10th book that I'd done, but my sales were just sort of doing that death spiral that can happen. And I knew that I had to do something really different. And yeah, so I spent ages and ages thinking what that would be. And the original books I'd written in my 10 years of trying to get published and failing miserably were detective stories. And actually thinking about it, what I did was go back to the 10 years when I was doing something that didn't work and do that again. So yeah, but the thing about those books was I never really edited them. You know, I would write the draft and be really proud of myself and send it off to agents. As opposed to write it, rewrite it, sit on it for several months, rewrite it again, all the stuff I do now. So yeah, so then I decided to do a detective series, and in the end I had this idea for The Queen. So the new book is the one behind me.
There it is.
This one here in all its glory. And I wrote this one last summer. And I kind of worked backwards from the title, really. We'll talk about it in a minute, I know, but so the idea is the Queen solves crime, the Queen that we know solves crime, and I knew that I wanted the first one to be set at Windsor. So I came up with the title The Windsor Knot because I thought that would be funny because of the tie. And then I created a crime to fit the title.
Yeah.
And then I created an investigation to fit the crime. So yeah,
it all fell into place perfectly.
Well, I'm glad you liked it. You were one of the first readers, weren't you? And you were so generous about it. It was really lovely.
Yeah, I read it back in, well, it was in the summer I read it. I was lucky enough to, your editor knowing me well enough to know that I would like it, because it's it's a little bit different to the normal, a little bit bonkers, but also absolutely wonderful and so entertaining all the way through, and just believable as well. What gave you the idea for the Queen being a super sleuth? I mean, the best thing about it for me was that I could really believe that it was true, you know, that this is what she's up to behind the scenes.
It almost is in my head. I had a plan. The book I was trying to write featured a billionaire cyborg art detective.
Oh.
And that's what I wanted to do, and I had it all mapped out, and I was trying to write it, but it just kind of wouldn't work. And I got so irritated writing about the super rich that I just annoyed myself. Of course, now I'm writing about the Queen, but the Queen doesn't behave like the super rich, I think, and that's what I like about her. But anyway, so I was driving up to stay with some friends and get away from the family for a few days and write that. And while I was driving, I was thinking about season 2, I think it was, of The Crown, as one does. And I really enjoyed season 1 and 2. And there was one scene in it where the Queen was visiting her private secretary, and he was a bit bonkers, and he had this massive model battle set out in his study, as one does, with lots of soldiers on it. And the Queen picked up this historical soldier from the battlefield, and she was sort of holding it in her hand while they were chatting. And then she plonked it down randomly and went out. And it was quite funny. And then, you know, he sort of looked at the battlefield and he carefully placed the soldier where it would go. And I found myself thinking while I was driving along, I was just thinking, she just wouldn't do that. I mean, it was a funny scene, but she just wouldn't do that, because she would know that it's impolite to fiddle with somebody's model battlefield, because she's got very good manners. And she would know the battle, because she's a really good military historian. It's one of the things she knows about. So she would recognize which battle it was. She would know who the soldiers were. And if anything, she would put one back in a better place rather than a worse place. And so I thought, blimey, I feel like I know this woman so well. I would like to sit down with Peter Morgan and say, look, you know, why did you get that detail wrong? And then I was thinking, yeah, she's an expert on all of this stuff. She knows about racing so much, and she knows about dogs, and she knows about her own palaces, and she knows about military history, and she knows about medals, and she's met every big person in the 20th century. Oh. And then I was thinking, and also as she's walking along, everybody's looking at her, and she's the only person looking out. So she sees things from a completely different perspective from everybody else, and she must spot stuff that other people don't see. And I thought that was interesting. And then I thought, and if something went wrong, I bet she'd notice, because, you know, she's been alive for a long time. And if she wanted to find out more about it, she could just literally ask anybody the details. So she could contact any professor or anything and ask for more information. And then I thought, well, she'd just be a brilliant detective, wouldn't she? She's got everything she needs. Exactly. And I honestly think the only thing stopping her in real life is that I don't think she could be bothered. I think she's a bit busy, and that's not her thing. And she would drive herself mad in real life if she went into that level of detail about everything. I think in real life, what she's really good at doing is delegating. Whereas my Queen can't bear it. She just she keeps gnawing away at the problem until it's fixed. But everything else, apart from the fact that she solves murders, everything else I've tried to make as accurate as I humanly can. Yeah.
But that's another thing that I loved about it so much, which is I think why people love The Crown as well, is it's just this sense of getting to peer under the lid of royal life. And it feels so authentic, but it doesn't actually feel 1,000 miles away from normal life in a lot of ways. Just obviously it is, but in like you say, in the way she behaves and things like that, in a way she's more restricted than a lot of us are, and there's things that she can't do.
I'm glad you picked up on that, because that was one of the things that really drove me forward to really want to do this, because I have been following her since 1977 when I was 11, and I was given this book called The Queen's Clothes, because that's my thing. I love all that kind of stuff. Not high fashion, but costume and the way people, men and women, dress for certain situations. I've always been really interested by that. And so this was about how she worked with Norman Hartnell when she was newly queen, and her dresses had to be, embroidered with the with emblems from the countries she was visiting, and they had to be comfortable but look magnificent, but not too fashionable, because that would put people off, but not unfashionable, and they had to be colourful but not too patterned, and it just went on and on and on, and as you say, it was quite restrictive. Yeah. And Margaret could go around wearing the latest Dior dresses and kind of do what she liked, and she loved doing that. And the Queen she could have afforded to, but she chose not to, because I think she would have thought that would be showing offy, and that's not what she's like. So yeah, I've always been interested by how restricted her immensely privileged life actually is, all the things she can't do and things she can't say.
Yeah.
So it was lovely to sort of peep under the bonnet of that and imagine how frustrating it must be and how well she deals with it. Yeah.
Did you go on any research trips, sort of on site, picking around?
That's been one of the really fun parts. I got the idea for the setting of the Windsor Knot, which is this thing called a Dine and Sleep. When I took my son there, we just went to one of those sort of classic visits. He'd missed his school trip, so I was taking him to make up for it. And we looked at all the armour on the walls, which he was fascinated by. And we were just in this dining room, which was to me nothing special. And somebody said, this is where the Dine and Sleeps happen. And I didn't know what that was. And they explained that she gets sort of 20 people over for a dinner party, and it could be anybody she likes. Yeah. And then they stay the night, and then they come down to breakfast the next day, and then they go home. And ever since that moment, I just thought, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that. And so I Googled it, and the first one I Googled, which had happened quite recently, was Tim Peake, the astronaut, Delia Smith, the Archbishop of Canterbury, and these other people. And I just thought, that's bonkers, as you say. Can you imagine? You show up, it's like, oh, you're going to stay the night. You've got your overnight bag. It's unpacked for you by servants while you're not there. And you sit down, and you've got an astronaut on one side of you and a famous chef and, football manager on the other. I mean, what could be more fun? So I knew I wanted it to have that in it. So yes, I went to Windsor Castle, and I visited Sandringham a couple of times recently, and I've got Balmoral on my list, and I've been around Buckingham Palace and the gardens. And luckily, I did a lot of this before lockdown. It's been interesting doing it recently.
Yes,
but
sort of,
but it's fun. I mean, I know you go to gorgeous places for your research, don't you?
I do, yes, and actually did anyway, despite lockdown. managed to get to Croatia, which was a bit jammy.
Yeah, it does sound rather wonderful.
It was an absolute comic.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to Croatia, but I did get to Norfolk, which I completely adore.
Well
so I was on the Norfolk coast, and it was just beautiful, and I like it in winter the best, actually. These long horizons and huge skies and wading birds wheeling around in them, and it's glorious. So
I should go up there, really. I'm in Suffolk, so I'm not that far away. I could drive up there. I go to the Suffolk coast, but it's a bit flat.
Yeah.
Very, very flat. Big great skies, but not so great for views. You have to really travel to get uphill anywhere.
Yeah, and I can imagine that. But it's there is the odd hill actually near Sandringham, much to my surprise.
Yeah.
I know that sort of famous phrase, very flat Norfolk.
Yeah.
But it has got the odd hill. But yeah, it's the beaches that I love, and then you can just see far out to sea.
A lot of space.
Yeah.
So plotting a murder mystery must be tricky. I mean, plotting a romance novel is tricky enough. Are you a meticulous plotter and planner? Do you have graphs on the wall and bits of string connecting drawing pins to other drawing pins, or are you more fly by the seat of the undergarments?
I used to do that. When I was starting out at the beginning of those 10 years, I would have a fantastic idea for a story, and I'd be so excited. And I would sit down and write, and love every minute. And I would get to 5,000 words and realize it wasn't going to work. It had some deep fundamental flaw. And then I would lose faith, and then I would start again. So for a couple of years, probably, I mean, I did, my first book worked out, never got published, but I was very proud of that. But then after that, I would hit this 5,000 word thing. So since then, I always plot a bit. I mean, even if it's just one side of Word, sort of typed out bullet points of what's going to happen. With these ones, I have a spreadsheet, I have to say. Wow. One of the fun things is that there's the court circular saying what the Queen is officially doing each day in the Times. And I was thinking, I'm quite lazy, can I be bothered to go and sort of look through all these old editions of the Times to find out what she was doing? But bless them, it's online now. So then I found there was this challenge. I know officially what she was doing every single day where the book is set in 2016. And I thought, well, I'll use some of the things and not others, and I'll make it up. And then I found I set myself this challenge of, no, everything she officially did will be in the book when she did it. And I'll fit the murder plot around that. So I need a spreadsheet for that.
Amazing. I didn't realise that. That's so clever.
It's really fun to do. And also, if there was anything that wasn't in the court circular, but I know from the press that she was doing, and I mean, this is set at her 90th birthday, so there's a lot of other stuff as well. So like, if I know she's judging a dog show, that goes in, or she's visiting an art gallery, that goes in. And anything she did in true life that I know about is there. Or I make sure that even if it's not in, I make sure she's not doing anything else at the time. So yeah, but in terms of the plot, actually, I happened to download this thing, which is something like just a one-pager from the internet, how to write a crime novel in 12 steps. I mean, it was just such a kind of 101 how to write crime for dummies. And it just kind of connected with me. And it was kind of like, step 1, you have the murder. And then sort of step 4, the detective, you have the subplot. And then step 5, the detective goes down the wrong route. And I just thought, well, I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm just going to do that. So I followed it.
It worked.
That was that. Yeah, it worked. It was great.
You're going to have to send me that document, I think.
I keep pinging it to people now. Yeah.
I have an idea. One of my writer friends and I do have an idea for a murder mystery that we want to write collaboratively.
Oh, lovely.
Essentially just for fun, but maybe for publication. So, but it's the plotting that every time I think, I really get under the skin of all these nasty characters that could be murderers. But I don't know where to put their chapters or how to like put the red herrings in or like, it's the plotting.
Well, you could do it like Lee Child, couldn't you? Because he's a pantser. I mean, I suppose it's all kind of in his head, but he just writes like a reader the whole time, apparently, doesn't he? It's what he says anyway. So he must. But he says he just has the main character, the main sort of next character, and the setting. And then off he goes, and he doesn't know what the murder is, what's happening, anything till he gets there.
Lucky him.
Lucky him.
Maybe it makes
Isn't Nikki French a writing couple, I think?
Yes, they're a married couple, yeah.
Yeah, so I love the idea of doing that. You sort of send chapters to each other and kind of, I guess, challenge each other to pick up whatever the clues have been sort of...
You wouldn't know what was coming. It would make it more exciting.
Yeah.
Process. I mean, it's like that anyway, isn't it? Even if you set up a chapter and you know exactly, like you say, where the Queen's going to be at a dog show and you know the resolution of that chapter, but you don't know the conversations she'll have necessarily, or what she's wearing or whatever it might be. So that's the
best bit. I completely agree. Yeah, it's what happens in the writing of it. I mean, there was one thing where it was literally that I just needed to find out what she was wearing, and again, I wasn't going to make her do the thing she was doing, but I just wanted to know what outfit she'd be in. And what she was doing was unveiling a picture of herself. And it just so happens this was for book 2, and book 2 is all about the art world and her art. So it was really relevant. And also it was about cooperation in Ireland and set in the sort of the Brexit year of 2016. That was really interesting as well. So I ended up writing this kind of long ruminative chapter on Mo Mowlam and the senior women in politics and all sorts of things, just because I happened to just Google whether she was wearing a pink suit or not, which she was.
Gosh, you fell into a rabbit hole there.
I love my rabbit holes. Yeah.
We'll go back to talking about the next book in a minute, but I wanted to ask you, because I saw on Twitter recently that you've actually sent a copy of the book to Her Madge herself. Is that true?
Yeah, it's
That's
true.
Exciting.
Yeah, I felt quite.
Wouldn't it be amazing to get a little note back from the Queen saying that she'd enjoyed it? That would be.
I mean, that's going to be interesting because she's a very polite lady, and she often gets her private secretaries to write thank you letters. But I don't think she can ever acknowledge that she's read this, can she, really? Because obviously we're all going to put it on the cover of the next book. So if I were her, I would sort of not tell me that she's liked it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going to happen there. It's going to be interesting. But she'll see it one way or another. We also discovered, this is weird, this sounds like I'm a really well-connected person, and I am not. But by utter coincidence, and I've never met her, and I probably never will. My father has, but I never have. But anyway, by sheer coincidence, to do with who went to university with who, my son's godmother's godfather is the Queen's godson.
Oh gosh. Okay.
So my son's godmother is also my husband's goddaughter, and we gave the book to her to give to her godfather, to give to his godmother, who is the Queen. And so she's going to get a copy through him, hopefully, if he goes ahead with it. And he's going to get this other one that I posted to her. So she'll have 2 copies for Christmas.
So she won't be able to ignore.
Yeah, exactly. Got to read
Or
it
maybe
sometime.
she'll ask one of the, she'll pass it on and ask for an opinion. So maybe one of the other royals will read it too.
Yeah, well, I did write a note for one of the assistant private secretaries in the package that I sent to the palace, because the sidekick, as you know, is an assistant private secretary, and I thought he might be quite amused to find himself turned into this Nigerian heritage, fantastic female ex-army officer solving crimes. So I'm hoping that at least the assistant private secretary will get to
I had
read
this
it.
dream on your behalf of, when they do those palace official pictures.
Yeah.
I have like a picture of just a sofa in the background with just your book on it, like like sprayed out, just where she put it down because she can't bear to be parted from it. She's like,
I think it would give her a giggle. I hope definitely. So. It's very affectionate about her and the family, I think. It's nothing like the latest season of The Crown. It's not full of all sorts of sort of gossip and scandal, really. For me, it's all about how do you live a normal human life in this bonkers situation that she finds herself in. And I think it does drive most people mad. I mean, you read about most monarchs who've lived as long as she's lived, and they do go completely bonkers by the end. I mean, Queen Victoria had this weird life, and goodness knows Henry VIII, and Queen Elizabeth I went a bit weird. So the fact she stayed sane, I find really, really interesting.
And like you say, a credit to her humour as well.
Yeah. And I think
her ability to find the funny.
Yeah, exactly. And she's not very vain, I don't think. And I think she just genuinely wants to do the right thing, which is, again, rare and quite nice these days in politics. So that was nice to write about too.
Definitely. And I loved the sort of the playful, banterous relationship she has with Philip as well, which is really touching. And I think, and actually watching The Crown has made me have a lot more sort of respect and affection for Prince Philip, who before then I'd always thought of a complete plonker, who just says and is just sort of there looming in the background, being austere and boring. But actually, he comes across quite well in both. So poor old Philip.
Yeah. No, I feel the same. I mean, he's a real kind of alpha male character. Would naturally want to be in charge of whatever life he had. He would be one of those men who would just want to be in charge of it all, and he's tall and he's capable and he's got all of that going on. And to choose a life where he's never going to be in charge of anything, really, I think it's a very selfless decision of his. And I remember sort of early on, and I think The Crown sort of captured it, he went off on his sailing trip and it all went a bit wrong, and they took away his friend who was acting as his private secretary or Aquaria, I can't remember. And that he then had to live with all of this without his best mate by his side. And I just thought, wow, that must be so tough. So yeah, I'm really sympathetic to him. I think he does a reasonable job considering.
Yes, he does. So what can you tell us about the next book in the series? You touched a little bit on it. It's called The Three Dog Problem.
Yes.
And it's more to do with art.
Yes. So the title comes from Sherlock Holmes. So I discovered that I'm more of an Agatha Christie and a Dorothy L. Sayers fan than a Sherlock Holmes fan. Although I do enjoy the stories. But I discovered that when Sherlock Holmes has a really difficult problem, he smokes 3 pipes. And I thought, okay, well, when the Queen's got a really difficult problem, she takes 3 dogs for a walk. So she does. And so that's why it's a 3-dog problem. But also there's physics thing, apparently, my son loves physics, called a 3-body problem, which is all about how you anticipate where things in orbit will be around each other. So it's a bit about that too. The problem that she has is that there is a murder in the palace swimming pool. Because I love the fact that Buckingham Palace has a pool, and it also probably has tunnels underneath it, so they come into it as well. And it's about, I mean, one of the things that book 1 mentions is the Queen has the most reproduced image in the history of the world, which I just think is such an amazing thing. She's not the most photographed necessarily, that's probably Diana, but she's on stamps and coins, and when you're in India and Canada and everywhere, it adds up.
They're being that.
Yeah. So yeah, this is about her sitting for portraits and the paintings that she owns and the sculptures that she owns, and again noticing a little detail. And I love the idea that the detail that she notices is all to do with Prince Philip being a bit naughty. So yeah, she notices something, and she realizes that somebody has been stealing or forging paintings, or something odd is going on. So she's on the trail.
Amazing. And you're working on the third one already, which is just blows my mind. You're well ahead.
Yeah. Well, she makes my life easier in many ways, because she lives in these fantastic settings, and we all know so much. So it's very easy to picture sort of where she is and what she's doing. So book 3 will be set at Sandringham at Christmas in 2016. And then book 4 will be Balmoral in the summer of 2017, which is, by then we're into beginnings of Meghan territory. So I remember whether Meghan actually went up there. I think she might have done that summer. So yeah, but I'm going to have a little bit more Harry in book 3, because he couldn't be with Meghan that Christmas, and he was probably missing her quite a lot. So
yes, that's true. Lovelorn.
Yeah, his granny will be keeping him company. I mean, this is the kind of thing where I was pictured that I would talk about her, going to church, that famous walk that they do that we all see. And that was the one year she didn't do it because she had a terrible head cold.
Oh, no.
So this is where I love the research, because it's like, oh no, she doesn't do it. And then, oh, okay, she had a head cold. How am I going to write that into the story?
Or did she? Or did she?
Yeah, exactly.
I wish she was on the track. She was too busy doing research, or calling someone, or not calling someone herself, obviously. But anyway, we've got a little bit of time just at the end to do a couple of quick fire questions. These are just very, very quickies, little book related, life related. Oh, favourite book of all time?
Have you got one? Because I mean, I have about 25.
Yeah, it really depends. I sort of do it, you know how you tick a box for your age bracket on a form?
Yeah.
Sort of books that were my favourite for a long time, and then they get replaced by other books.
Yes.
So
one of the Jeeves books, probably, maybe Thank You, Jeeves. I love humour at the end of the day. I mean, this world, even when we're not in the middle of a pandemic, it's so complicated that what I really love is somebody who makes me laugh. So P.G. Wodehouse is right up there. So yeah, I'm going to go with one of the Jeeves books, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'd always have a Cooper up in the top, I think.
Yes.
Mostly just for the puns.
A Cooper?
Yeah.
Got this postcard.
Oh, wow. I don't
know whether I should be saying this, but so I sent the Windsor Knot to Jilly Cooper. I probably shouldn't be saying this.
Oh, I bet
just to say, I adore you. I read all your books when I was a teenager. I would love it if you could read my book. And, and then she's probably got about, 200 of these stacked up from people like me. And she sent me a postcard, bless her heart, to say thank you. So,
oh, bless her.
I love her.
That is a true, it should be in a frame.
Yeah, well, it probably will be. And it's a wooden postcard as well. I mean, it's not even just a bog standard postcard. It's a really, really, it's a thing. It's my bookmark at the moment.
She is amazing. I haven't met her, but I interviewed her on the phone.
Oh, did you?
A couple of years ago, and she was absolutely hilarious and brilliant, and just as wonderful as I'd imagined. So she definitely doesn't disappoint. Yeah, I think she would love your book. You can see her. Yeah, and actually, this question is writing career highlight. It's going to be when the Queen is seen with your book. That will be it.
Yeah, I mean, getting a postcard from Jilly Cooper was definitely up there.
You answered the question before I answered it.
when Threads came out, my first one, this one, my publisher then was Barry Cunningham, who was the guy who discovered J.K. Rowling, and he sent it to Jacqueline Wilson, and she, within about a week, she had written a postcard saying how much she'd enjoyed Threads, and that was on my mantelpiece for just years, I think.
She's so nice, Jacqueline, isn't she?
Yeah, she's an adorable woman.
She is. Right, we'll do one more. We've got time. Yeah, we've just got time for one more. Hopefully, be a good one. Da, 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 da. Oh, one life mantra or motto that you live by. There you go. It's a good one to finish on, actually, isn't it?
Yes. Well, right now, I think what I'm living by is be kind and give people the benefit of the doubt, actually, even more than usual, because everybody is so stressed, and even people who've got good lives are stressed worrying about people who are really struggling. And yeah, and there are so many people who are doing things in the world at the moment that I think are just weird, but they've got good reasons for it. So Yes, that's what it is at the moment. Is be slow to judge, I would say.
Be slow to judge, be kind.
Yeah.
And I'm going to add find the funny as well.
Yes, that's a really good one
to the Queen. So discussing her. Always find the funny. There's usually some. I mean, there was with Trump, but yeah. Maybe not the other thing, but we're not going to talk about that today.
Yeah, sometimes it's harder than others, but yeah, you haven't read the Carl Hiaasen book, have you? That's about Trump set in Florida. I'm desperate to read that, but that sounds very funny indeed. It features alligators and all sorts of exciting things.
Oh, fantastic!
On my reading list.
Definitely want to add to the list. There is a big list.
Yeah, no, same
it
here.
never stops, luckily.
Sorry?
It never ends. The team
yes, quite.
It either gets bigger or slightly bigger, and it never disappears completely, which is great.
I'm loving your colour coordinated bookshelves in the background, by the way.
Yeah,
beautiful.
My face is looking a bit yellow today, but sorry everyone that's watching. I haven't got jaundice. It's just my lamp.
It looks very lovely.
It's as lovely as you. Look at your beautiful house. Amazing.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, portrait in the background was painted by my husband's great aunt, I think. It's a copy of something.
Wow.
But yeah. So, I mean, again, strong women. I love the idea of her going into the National Gallery of Art in Scotland and just thinking, I'm going to copy this painting. And she did.
Yeah, why not? Right. Have you got your book to hand? Hold up your book or I'll hold it up.
Right. I can both do it. There we go.
Yeah, here we go.
Stereo. Oh, with its beautiful end
papers. And in the back, look.
And there are hidden corgis in there. If you look really closely, there's the odd corgi every now and again.
Ooh.
I wonder if there are any on the back end papers. Not sure.
Oh yes, there's one there. Look, corgi.
If you look closely, there we go.
Please buy this book, everybody that's watching, because it is absolutely brilliant. It's just, it will take you out of your life, and it will make you laugh, and it will make you just love the Queen, really, and the royals. Which, if you're not watching The Crown, which everybody is at the moment as well, so yeah. Fully embrace it. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming to talk to me. We could keep talking all day, but I'm conscious of, you've got to get back to researching Sandringham and dogs and things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been such fun. Yeah, definitely happy to do it again if you ever want to chat more royals. Definitely. We'll wave now. Thank you, everybody, and come back next week for more. Bye.